Okay, we are working on going live.
Got it.
Excellent. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and all of you potential Toastmasters out there. Hopefully there are many. Welcome to our show today on Facebook Live, Wake Up with Toastmasters. My name is Ken Richardson. I am the District 115 Club Growth Director, and I will be your host today, and my co-host is the lovely, effervescent, there's a good word of the day, effervescent, Phyllis Tribby, distinguished Toastmaster and past district governor. Good morning, Phyllis.
Good morning, Ken, and good morning to our public out there, and welcome to everyone. How are you doing today, Ken? Oh, got his eyes on our extra computer.
My apologies.
Somebody coming to visit already?
I haven't seen anybody yet, but I wanted to make sure for our audience that doesn't realize it, we sort of have to do a sort of a dual computer level control here. So if you see me turn to the side, it's not that I'm trying to ignore you, but I'm checking our Facebook feed to make sure everything is on there. And then if there are any questions, and when I turn away, sometimes my speaker doesn't connect. So my sound is a little muffled. Well, we did have a guest scheduled today from Jackpot Speakers, but he has not joined us yet, Phyllis. So I think maybe that'll give us an opportunity to go back to our previous show where we were talking about contests. We had covered a lot of work. We talked a lot about Chief Judge and what have you. And we sort of stopped it at talking about contest flow. So I do have a PowerPoint, of course, that where we can continue on. And the origins of this came about because as we were discussing, the trio was discussing, where do we stand now that the district council has voted to have in-person meetings. We haven't had in-person contests for 2 years, and it's very different from online contests. They're very different things. So they asked me to give a presentation on this. And I guess it's because I just love contests. And I always have. That was my first experience going outside my club, was at an area contest. And then I went on to division contest and district contest, mainly in humorous. I did come in second in an evaluation contest along the way somewhere. And I've participated in a table topics contest and tall tales. But humorous is always my favorite. Oh, and I think I've done them all. I was in an international contest once. So, but since then, I've sort of been in district leadership and not been able to participate. So what I'm going to do here now is bring up, and I'm going to fast forward with a quick review of the slides we've already got and get us to the contest flow. Okay. So we can talk about that. And then if our guest is able to join us, we'll certainly put things on hold and bring him into the show. So let me get all my stuff together here. Here we go. Okay, can you see the screen okay?
Yes.
All right, let me get situated here. And we'll go through these. We talked about in our previous meeting, the contest committee, the venue, the food, the budget, and how the last thing that we didn't get to was contest flow. So I'm just quickly going to review. We talked about getting that committee going, include officials and other volunteers, and that committee needs to help secure a venue, recruit volunteers, secure raffle prizes and food, and develop a budget. Now you jump in here anytime, Phyllis, if you want to add something or if something comes to mind that we didn't get covered. We talked about contest officials like the presiding officer, the contest chair, Toastmasters, very, very important. And the fact that this year we're doing an evaluation contest and one international contest. Of course, the international contest is required of every district every year. And the second contest is really, excuse me, up to the district to decide. And this year, we voted to do an evaluation contest. And then, of course, you need 2 sergeants at arms, at least. We talked about the judging team. And the chief judge, spent a lot of time talking about the chief judge, the voting judges, tie-breaking judge, the timers, and the vote counters. Then there were other helpers we identified, such as those who attend to registration, raffle masters, setup and cleanup. Very, very important. Most of the venues that we are able to use are free. So we don't want to wear out our welcome. We want to make sure that we set up and clean up and leave the place just as we found it. We talked about the need for a central location, something that's easy to get to with plenty of free parking, a side room for the evaluation contest or table topics contestants and judges. If you got a kitchen, that's a great asset. It's something that is nice, but not necessary. You know, if you have it, it makes life a little easier. Typically, you have an ice machine as well. That makes life easier, but you can get by without it. And then the size at the area level, since all of our contests here this year have been combined, there are at least 2 areas working together on a contest. You want to shoot for about 40 to 80 people if you're doing a combined division contest. Now that was roughly accurate around pre-pandemic days. So we don't know what this year's going to bring. It's going to be very different, we know, but you want to make sure that you have enough room. And then we talked about the fact that some venues may ask for proof of insurance, and you can get that from Toastmasters International, download it, and even if the venue says, I want to see a certificate that names us as an additional insured, so we feel very comfortable that if there's any problem, insurance coverage is there, and TI will work with you to make that happen. That's not uncommon. And I want to say good morning to Jennifer Smith, our public relations manager. She joined us. Welcome, Jennifer. We're glad you're here. We're just reviewing some of the things we talked about for contest time, and then we're going to spend most of our time today talking about contest flow, how it should proceed. So in supplies, we want a lectern, a US flag, a sound system, tables for food, raffle items, and the timers, timing lights and backup cards, just in case you have a problem with the timing lights, chairs, of course. We don't want to have everybody stand through a day of contests. We talked about food and beverages and some options that you could do. And one of the things I like to stress here is that, you know, we are a nonprofit organization, and you can download the 501c3 letter from the TI website and then solicit donations. We used to go to Starbucks and they'd give us coffee, or to Dunkin' Donuts, they'd give us donuts. Smith's would give us a variety of things. Costco used to give us those little sandwiches that were so good. So you can minimize your expenditures by making sure that you reach out to potential vendors and providers in the community. And they're there and they're always willing to help support good cause. And this is a good cause. Pardon me, a little cough this morning. Now we talked about the budget, and we put in on the revenue side, entry fees, raffle sales, and we count donations in there as really a revenue, because it's money and value that we don't have to spend. It's in-kind donations. Expenses might be the venue rental, maybe equipment rental. If you're in a large facility where you really do need a sound system, you might have to rent that. And so that should be in here. Food and beverages, if you don't get everything covered with donations, you might have some expenditures. Awards, now this year I did mention that the district has purchased awards in a box so that the awards will be provided to all the areas and divisions. So we'll have first and second place, and we'll have Toastmaster of the Year, Spark Plug of the Year for all the areas. And then we're going to get certificate holders for certificates of participation. The goal is to break even. We're not in this to make money, we're in this to break even. That kind of brings us up to where we ended the program last time. Anything to add before we move on to contest flow, Phyllis?
No, all while you were talking though, I was wondering if you were going to get to the nonprofit letter from International, and you did cover that. And it's easy to download, give to all of your people who are going out to solicit food or donations.
Absolutely. Okay, and if anybody has any questions, they can always shoot me an email, and we are going to make available to anyone that wants them these slides. And also on our website, there is a, excuse me, there's a, under the contest tab, you can download the district contest chair manual. It's about 20 pages. And it's really good. It goes into great detail and covers a lot of the stuff that we are covering today. So, last thing here is to talk about the awards. I mentioned this. I forgot I had a slide on it. So this will be provided by the district, awards in the box. This is something that past district director Steve Goldstein started. I think it's a great thing because, Toastmasters is very picky about the kinds of awards we give that have the Toastmasters name, and so we are required to get them from Toastmasters rather than a local venue. The one caveat here is, as you know, our district is pretty small. We have a small budget this year. So if you do happen to raise as an area or division enough money to cover the cost of awards, you're encouraged to donate that back to the district so we can pay for that. Now, let's talk about how should the contest flow. And I have a question here from Jennifer. Does the area set up a bank account? In my experience, the answer to that is no. They can use one of their clubs to do that. The problem with, and of course, I'm not the expert, I probably would have to want to talk, Jennifer, to Will, our treasurer, to make sure I'm telling you correct information. I don't want anybody to get in trouble with the IRS. But because this is a one-time event, we have handled it outside of setting up a separate account. That's not something, you could do it if you want to, or use one of the club's accounts. That's one of the ways that you can do that. Phyllis, how have you handled that in the past when you've been involved?
Yes, I handled it myself. And I think most area division directors do. There's just not that much money to worry about. But as I've heard in the past, that whatever money is collected and not spent actually belongs to International. So be sure that you are giving the money back, paying for something when you give it to district. So if you have the extra money and you want to pay for your awards, that's good because you need a receipt for those things. So it works out. I don't know that anybody's ever complained. Like you say, most people pass it on to the next director or pass it up. And of course, when you're an area director, the division director also needs to have raffle prizes. So maybe something can be worked out in that line.
Yes, thank you, Phyllis. You're right. It is a small amount, but I do encourage you to keep track of your revenues and expenses so that if you do need to make sure that you present that to TI or anyone who asks about it, that you have that documentation available as you mentioned, get receipts and what have you. Okay, let's see. I don't see any other questions online. So let's get into contest flow. So before the contest, here's what needs to happen. The chief judge briefs the judges, the vote counters, and the timers. Now, this in the past has occurred immediately before the contest. The chief judge will gather all of the helpers aside, have them come in a little early, and do the briefing there. What I'd like to try this year, I'm the chief judge for Division D. I'm honored to have been asked for that position. What I'm going to try this year, though, is to brief the judges a couple of days online before the contest. And that way I can record the briefing, and any judges or timers who have missed it can view the recording and contact me if they need any questions. So I'm going to give that a shot this year. That did work well last year. We briefed because everything was online. We did our briefings as well. The other thing is the briefing of the contestants, and that's usually done by the Toastmaster. And in that briefing, they determine speaking order, usually by drawing numbers. They determine what is the stage area that the speakers or contestants can use. Are there any props? And if there are props, one of the two sergeants at arms will help set those up during that minute of silence, which we'll talk about between each speaker. And then, of course, the sound system, if you have one or need one. Anything I left out here?
I've got a comment here.
Good.
I think you should add in protests. I don't think any Toastmaster really knows how to brief on protests.
Okay, very good.
So.
Yeah, that's something that the both can do, because the only people who can lodge a protest in the contest is one of the voting judges or one of the contestants. And the reason they would lodge a protest would typically be lack of originality. So if there is more than 25% of a contestant's speech that you recognize and say, hey, I've heard this before, this was, this is plagiarized, then that is something that folks need to be briefed on. And I appreciate that, you mentioning that, because you're right, it is something, it occurs rarely, but I have seen it occur once, at least once, in my role. I think I was a Toastmaster at that particular contest. So it doesn't come up often, but you need to be prepared for it. Have you seen it? I know you've been in a lot of contests as a chief judge.
Yes, even as a district chief judge, we have had protests, yes. And
Okay.
I've handled, I would say, at least 3, maybe 5, someplace in there.
Very good. Yes, that's so you have a little bit more experience in that than I do in that. But yeah, I will make sure that we discuss that. And I'm glad you brought it up here. See, this is why we're such a great team, Phyllis. We compliment each other. The things I forget, you're right on it. And I do appreciate that. Okay, now let's take a look at this and break this down. So here's what happens in the contest. The sergeant at arms, of course, will give, 10-minute warning, 5-minute warning, whatever. And then at the appropriate time, call the meeting to order. He or she will make announcements and remind everyone to turn off their cell phone, and then lead the pledge. Then she will introduce the presiding officer, and that person will come and take the stage. The presiding officer, this will be the area director, the division director, or the district director, one of those 3, depending on which level the contest is in. Typically, we'll introduce dignitaries, acknowledge the contest chair and thank them for all their hard work, pardon me, and then introduce the Toastmaster. The Toastmaster will confirm that the judges have been briefed, announce the speaking order for the benefit of the judges and the audience, and then introduce the guest speaker or the first contestant. Now, the reason I say either or, if it's an evaluation contest, they're going to introduce the guest speaker, and they will give name, title, name of the guest speaker. And this is the speaker that the contestants will actually be evaluating. So that will happen at this point. If it's the international contest, they will introduce the first contestant. Anything I left out in this sequence so far, Phyllis?
Well, immediately I thought about introduce the guest speaker. And I think that it's up to the chief judge here to listen and be sure that the only thing that is introduced is the name and the title of the name. I've heard Toastmasters start a glowing report on the guest speaker, which is not to be done. So you want
and why is that? Why do you not want to give a
well, the contestants should be listening to somebody that probably they've never heard before. And the accolades that a Toastmaster can give might influence them into what their evaluation would be. Gotcha. So should this happen, it's up to the chief judge for me, is point of order and stop the contest and tell them only name and title of speech.
Got it. Thank you. That's a good point. Okay, then we're into the contest itself. Let's assume, again, if the guest speaker has completed, or we're doing with international, the contestants each, if an international contest, will have 5 to 7 minutes. If it's a evaluation contestant, it's 2 to 3 minutes. Then there will be 1 minute of silence between each speaker so the judges can mark their ballot. And then it will be silent until all the judges have left the room after the last contestant. At that time, the Toastmaster has an opportunity to interview contestants because, as you pointed out, we don't want to influence the judges by saying, we're so happy to have so-and-so who has a DTM or whatever their credentials are, or who might be from a certain club. So it's at this point that you really get to know the contestants. You can give them certificates of participation and then return conduct to the presiding officer. The presiding officer then will make announcements. We'll take a break and then proceed to the next contest, and then that's repeated for the next contest. Anything to add on this progression here?
No.
Okay.
Everything looks good.
Excellent. And also, I want to remind folks, I hope I have it on the reference slide, but there is a video on the TI website that describes the process. It is very brief. It's not as, it doesn't go into a lot of details. And there are some of the variations that might be a little different from area to area. Now, I want to make sure everybody gets a shot at this slide, and this is, of course, being recorded and will be posted on our Facebook page, the Club Growth Director Facebook page. This gives you all of the contest dates. I haven't seen the times or venues for all of them yet, but as soon as those come out, they're going to be posted on our webpage, and we'll make sure they get on the Facebook page as well. So we start March 5th, and then pretty much just about every Saturday after that, March 12th, the 19th, 26th, into April, culminating with the convention, the District 115 convention, which is going to be May 14th, 2022. And of course, that will be in person. So that's, I think, the brevity of it. Yes, here we go. These are the resources I've talked about. If you go to toastmasters.org under Leadership Central, Speech Contest, Contest Tutorials, you will find those videos that talk about the different roles which we've discussed in this presentation before and the flow of the contest. Also, if you go to our website, d115tm.org and hit the contest tab, you will find a wealth of blank forms and the guidebook, a manual that you can use that will help you through the contest. And of course, your district leaders are always here to help you. Do you have anything to add to that?
I think you've
Phyllis,
covered
what
it
do we do?
all. Get a mentor for everything, a mentor who's done contests before. If you're a new area director and need some help, ask for it. If you don't know
Exactly.
somebody that's done it, look for somebody that's got TTM behind their name. They should be more than willing to help.
And absolutely, you can always feel free to contact me. You see my email there, d115cgd@gmail.com. I will do my best to help you because contests are a part of Toastmasters. It's near and dear to my heart. I love it. I've been, contest chair. I've been Toastmaster,
Yep.
Judge, timer. So I'm always happy to help you. Well, I see that we are running out of time here, Phyllis, and I do want to remind folks that coming up on February 5th is the District Executive Committee meeting. That's going to be online. You'll be getting, I don't think it's gone out yet, a link and an agenda for that meeting. On February 12th, we will have our Educational Enrichment Night. I don't yet have all of the classes for that, but that should be coming out in the newsletter, which will be sent out on February 1st. And then finally, game night is the last Saturday of the month, and the link for that is also found in the newsletter. Anything else you want to say, Phyllis, before we wrap it up here?
Just that we need visitors. Come and see us.
Absolutely. If you're
Easy to get along with.
We are generally pretty easy to get along with, not too fussy. But if you'd like to be a guest or comment on the show, please send me an email at d115cgd@gmail.com. So thank you very much for joining us, or if you're watching this a little bit later, we appreciate that as well. Please be sure to like it, comment, and even share if you can. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great day and a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Goodbye, everyone.